Hello and welcome to today's video. This is my July reading wrap up. Here are all the books I read in July. There's a few, you know, we can definitely have a look through them. I actually had the worst reading month yet this year during July. However, that's mainly because the last week of July I read nothing. I got in a bit of a reading slump, didn't end up reading anything during the last week, so obviously statistics wise not great, but I did read 12 books, which is 4,394 pages, and 11 of the 12 books are here, and then the other one was on the Kindle. I'm just going to speak about them in pretty much the order I read them. However, there are a couple that are like parts of the series, so I've grouped them together rather than splitting them up. But yeah, that's basically how I'm going to talk about them, and it's going to be quick. I'm just going to give you my quick thoughts, pros, cons, very basic, like basic level, and my rating. And yeah, a lot of these I think have been in various videos throughout the month, so if I'm talking about one and it has been in a video, I will link it up in the cards above. But yeah, that is basically what there is to say, so let's get into it. First of all, I've read the last two books in the Spiderwick Chronicles. This is books 4 and 5, and these are The Ironwood Tree and The Wrath of Mulgraf. Yeah, these were fun, they were fine. I think if you are the age these are intended for, which is kind of like 8 to 10 year olds, I'd guess, I mean, check it, look it up, I'd guess 8 to 10. I'd say these would be really fun, but I definitely felt like these were quite weak, especially compared to the first 3 in the series. I gave book 4 3.5 stars and book 5 3 stars. And like, they were okay, don't get me wrong, like they weren't bad, they just weren't as interesting in the first few books. And it was also a lot more obvious in these ones what was happening, and things that were meant to be a mystery had already been revealed before the mystery even happened. I don't know if maybe if you're a kid, if you wouldn't have picked up on that, I don't know, but I feel like even then you probably would. So yeah, they were fun, they were good continuations, and I'm really glad that I have finished the series. They just weren't amazing. In this series we follow 3 siblings, Jared, Simon and Mallory, and we basically follow them discover the world of fairy and then keep exploring it. So yeah, it was good, it was a fun time. Definitely better to read, like I'd say the younger you are and like the closer to the age that you're meant to read them you are. They haven't aged well in terms of like books being for children that an adult is reading. So yeah. Then early on in the month I read Pumpkinhead. This was so cute, it was so good. I gave this 5 stars in the end because I just enjoyed it so much. This is a graphic novel and we're following Deja and Josiah as they have their last shift ever at the pumpkin patch, as by next year they'll have gone off to college and won't be working there anymore. The art style throughout is like absolutely gorgeous, it's so good. And yeah, we basically just follow them around their entire last shift. There's not much of a plot, like there are things going on and things that we're following, but it is more just like vibes and getting to know them as people compared to plot. But yeah, it was a good time, it was a lot of fun. I've definitely heard of this author before, but I don't think they've done any other graphic novels, at least to my knowledge. But yeah, I had a fun time, I had a lot of fun with this, and it was just a nice quick read, you know, like it's a graphic novel and it's only 200 pages long, so it took about an hour. Like, it was just a lot of fun and honestly just what I needed to keep me reading. So yeah, I would definitely recommend this, it was a fun time. I then carried on with the Thursday Murder Club series. This is book 2 in that series. This is The Man Who Died Twice, and this was again just a load of fun. It was a cozy mystery, cozy murder, whatever you want to call it, whatever that genre is. And yeah, I think this is really good. So again, same as the first book in the series, we follow Elizabeth, Joyce, Ibrahim and Ron as they basically hunt for a murderer again. It follows a very similar structure to the first book, but obviously there's new characters, there's different things going on, and there's also new characters introduced. It's a fun time, that's what I'll say. It is very like isolated, you know, there's not many people who can be suspects, there's not the biggest community that they're looking through, but it's just a cozy chill time with a nice cozy mystery. And I also think that the audiobook for these books are really good. They're quite basic, like it's just one narrator, but it really just keep you like interested and keep you going along with it. So yeah, I'm happy with this one, and I gave it 4.5 stars. It was quite close to a 5-star, but I just don't think it was quite as good as the first book, so 4.5. Then I read Dial A for Aunties, and this is one of the books that I read for my like reading contemporary audiobook vlog. And it was fun, it was fine. I gave it 3.5 stars. It wasn't bad by any means, I just don't think I particularly enjoyed it. We learnt last month during June that I hate second chance romance, and that was definitely one of the tropes that was in here. And the decisions in which the main character made were also just pretty stupid, and I wasn't vibing with them, wasn't understanding them. And even though the book was enjoyable, like the way I describe it is kind of like leave your brain at home enjoyable. Like, you know, some of those action movies that are like, yeah, sure, this is fun if you can leave your brain at home for a bit. It was kind of like that. So it got 3.5 because it was good. I had a good time reading it. Like, I definitely enjoyed the experience. But I didn't really enjoy the plot. And I didn't really enjoy the characters. So it was mainly like all of the other like world things going on that I was enjoying about it. There is a sequel to this. It is a duology, and I am tempted to pick up the sequel because of how much, you know, enjoyment I had. I read it over a couple of days. It was a nice read, an easy read, and it was just a chill time. So I'm definitely tempted to pick up the sequel, but I don't know who I'd recommend this to, because honestly I didn't have a great time with it in terms of, like, you know, on the back we learn she's murdered someone, but we know all of the mystery side of it. Like, there's not really a mystery that we're following, there's not really like anything we're uncovering, we're just going along with it. It's just vibes. So yeah. Then during July I also picked up Violent Ends, which is the sequel to, what's it called, These Violent Delights. This is a duology by Chloe Gong. The reason I picked this up in July is because I was accepted to have an e-arc version for the next book that Chloe Gong has written, which is separate to these books. Like, you can read it without having read these, but it is part of the same world and it happens after these books, so some spoilers could be given. So I wanted to read this one to make sure when I read the next one that's coming out like in a couple of months time, which I'm hoping to read next month, fingers crossed, that I would basically be able to not get spoiled, because I didn't want to do that. And this is a really amazing series, I really enjoyed it, and yeah, it got 5 stars. It was so good, so interesting, such a great ending. I can't say a lot about it because it's the second book in a series, but the first book, things happen. Again, not much is given away by the synopses in these books, so like it's difficult to describe, but I would definitely say give it a go if you haven't. It's a Romeo and Juliet retelling following Roma and Juliet, and it takes place in Shanghai. This one is 1927. I have a feeling the first one might have been set in 1926. But it could have been 1925. It was very similar sort of time, like 1920s Shanghai, Romeo and Juliet retelling with fantasy intertwined and monsters and things going on. Good time, really enjoyed it, 5 stars. Then next up I read 2 books in the same series, the first one being House of Earth and Blood and the second one being House of Sky and Breath. So I read this one physically, like, you know, reading it, and then I was that engrossed in it that I got the second one on Kindle so I could read it as well, and these are good. This one got 5 stars, the second one got 4.5 stars. It wasn't as good as this, and a lot of things were changing that I wasn't really vibing with. However, even though the second one was worse than the first one, because of the ending of the second one, I think that this has potential still to be like a new favourite series, because I think in the next books, in books 3 and 4 during this series, a lot of things are going to happen, and yeah, I just think that there is high potential that it's going to keep getting better, and it could just keep getting 5 stars for the next few. But yeah, this is following Bryce, whose closest friends are murdered by a demon, and 2 years later these deaths start happening again, and she, along with Hunt, who is sent kind of like as a bodyguard to her, need to discover what's happening, why these murders are happening again, potentially who the murderer is, because I did think they caught him, and it just follows on from there. And obviously it's a Sarah J Maas book, so there's fae, there's mythical creatures, there's stuff going on, and it's a good time. I'm really glad that I read them, and I will definitely be continuing to read this series. Then I read The Hunt. This is book 5 of the Secret Circle books. I searched high and low for this book. It took me months to get this copy. Like one random day it was on Amazon for like £6.99. Up until then there'd been like £100 plus was the only way I could see to buy it physically. And then I gave it 2 stars after waiting all this time and hyping it up in my head. It was pretty crap. It does turn out that the book started to get ghost written, but so this is book 5. Book 4 was ghost written as well, but from what I could see online there was already an outline and a plan. So like although it is ghost written, the actual plot was already decided or like determined. Yeah, this one was really quite bad. It was cringe. It read really young, which like these books are young anyway, but this one read younger than the others. But obviously like they've aged by book 5 compared to book 1, but this one read even younger. I didn't like what was going on, didn't like the plot, didn't like anything basically. Everything was really obvious and yeah, not vibing with it. I'm definitely going to get book 6 so I can like complete the series, but I really couldn't believe how bad this one was, to be quite honest. Secret Circle, it's a group of witches. There's witch stuff going on, there's baddies, there's goodies, they need to figure it out, they need to work together, but not all of them even like each other. That is basic overview, and this is book 5, which got 2 stars. And then for a bit of a brighter tone, this was another 5-star read. This was I think the only non-fiction book that I read this month, and this is Foolhardy Folk Tales by Beans on Toast. This is the 2nd book that he's come out with. It's basically just stories of his musical life. Same as book 1, just new stories, different things going on. A collection of folk stories about art, money, drugs and love, told first hand by the songwriter and storyteller Beans on Toast. And that's exactly what it was. I'm already a fan of this music, really love the music. Loved book 1, gave book 1 5 stars. Read book 2, given this one 5 stars as well. And also the audiobook for this one was on Scribd, which was really surprising. Like I didn't expect to be able to access it, but reading it through the audiobook was also really great because like Beans on Toast himself narrates it. And yeah, it's just a fun time. There's so many interesting stories, and especially like the first section of the book, the Great Tesco Robbery, really got me. I was really shocked. If you've read it you'll understand. But yeah, there's also like a chapter called The Bullshit, a chapter called Messing with Texas, Beautiful Alice, Art, and it's just a fun time. And it kind of is more of an up-to-date one. By the end of this book, the last one, is kind of we get into like lockdown 1, like 2020 time. So yeah, it was just really great to read and I really enjoyed it. Then for the same video as Dilay for Aunties, I also read Daisy Jones and the Six. I was hoping to really enjoy this one. Wasn't quite for me. It wasn't bad by any means, I just wasn't vibing with it honestly. I listened to the audiobook, but I also have read along with a lot of it, so like I'd have the audiobook on but also be reading along with it. I just didn't care about anyone, like I didn't care about any of the characters, I didn't care about what was going on. And I don't feel like we got enough time with any of the characters to actually care about what was going on in their life, like that we're seeing during this book. Yeah, I'm not going to harp on about it. Everyone knows what Daisy Jones is. It's super popular. Yeah, I gave it 3 stars. It wasn't bad by any means, but it just wasn't for me. I wasn't vibing with it. I'm probably going to give another Taylor Jenkins read a go at some point, but I'm not rushing to now because I think a big part of why I wasn't enjoying it was the writing style and not feeling for the characters, which I think you do get from the writing style. So yeah, that was that one. Nice and short, but you get the idea. And then last but not least, we have 4. As I said, like the last week and a half of July, I was really in a bad reading slump. I wasn't reading anything really. So the only thing I got through was 4. This is just because I had the audiobook on Scribd, and slowly throughout the year I've just been rereading like older YA series that I read when I was younger but don't know if I still want to keep, because my enjoyment as like 13, 14, 15-year-old Heather reading these books or like these types of books might have been up there, but as an adult, do I actually want them? Do I actually still enjoy them? That is the question. So yeah, this was the last book of the Divergent series that I needed to read, and I read it. I gave it 4 stars. It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad at all. It was pretty much the same type of writing as the first 3 books in the Divergent series. We just follow 4. I would say, so this book is like completely separate from the first trilogy. Well, like the 3 books, like the part of the trilogy. I will say read this afterwards, because if you don't read it afterwards it's not going to make much sense. It's just various scenes from 4's perspective, but I really enjoyed it and it was nice to see the characters that we'd grown to like again. So yeah, it got 4 stars. I enjoyed it quite well and the audiobook was pretty good too. So yes, those were all 12 of the books that I've read during July. Not as many as usual, but I'm okay with it. Like, I did need that time off to kind of like get through the slump and be okay with it. So yeah, that is that. I do hope that you enjoyed the video. Please do give it a like if you liked it. Subscribe down below if you'd like to see more content like this. I do try to upload every Monday, Wednesday and Friday. So hopefully I will see you next time. Bye!